song is fabulous. No, the opening didn't want to pop in for a minute. I was like, hey, what's happening? Click, 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 click. Anyways, you guys, welcome to the Melanated Way. I'm Linda. That's April. We are doing the season finale of Match Me Abroad. And we have a lot to say. But let me do a little bit of housekeeping first and foremost. Oh, what is this? Bottom of the screen, you can see where you can support the show. All of your support is absolutely welcomed and grateful. Super chat, super stickers are available. I'll leave that up for a little bit. While you have some time, go ahead and like and subscribe over here. And then head over to April's page, Holloway Legal, PLLC, and like and subscribe over there. She's live streaming at the same time here, y'all. So support. Shout out to the live chat. We got Diana. Oh, Jade, famous artist. I feel like I know that name. I'm not sure why.
Probably because they're famous. Famous, darling.
Famous. Joslo, Tinkerbell, that's a new name. Holla. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Jay, Sue, everyone, welcome all. All right, let's get started. I can't believe it's the season finale. Although I thought last week was the season finale.
I'm glad we got this extra episode to wrap up everybody.
Same. Hey, it says April's immigration, LOL.
That's me, because I'm an immigration attorney. So, yeah, it's talking about me. I do a lot of other things too, though.
So, overall thoughts on this episode?
I am glad that we got a wrap it up episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll talk about it a little bit more later, but I wanted to see more of Juan's conversation with Chad.
I have a statement, an official statement from Maria, so I'm glad you brought that up because I just remembered. I was going to print it out, not print it out, but, bring it up on the screen. Hi from Delaware. What up, Pamela? But I'm just going to read it. So my overall thoughts was I'm glad also that we got this wrap up episode, and I hope that they do a season 2. I hope they stick to the format if there's a season 2 where you have like real people, real couples, real issues, and it's not so sensational. Now, don't get me wrong. I love me some 90 Day, and I always will. I'm a day oneer, but this was refreshing to me.
I thought so too.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump into it. Chad and Maria. Chad is chatting so hard that I just didn't even know what to do but cuss him out as I sat on my couch. So Chad has this huge temper tantrum. He's walking out. As he's walking out, he's cussing Maria out. No couth, no manners, big temper, big problems. And then what I thought was interesting, right, is when they started filming 38, but he was staying on the show who was 40, right? So how old are you, Chad? So he continues to carry on with this huge temper tantrum, saying he has no time for BS. And Maria is like super calm about it. She's like, do you want me to finish my thought? Do you want me to finish this conversation with you? And listen, she's a better woman than me, because what you're not about to do is do all this and cuss me out in public in my own country on a second date. See
in my second language. Oh no.
See you never. Shout out to Peggy. Thank you so much, Peggy, for the super sticker. I truly, really appreciate it. So sweet. Thank you so much for the support, especially with this writer strike. Whew, guys, y'all don't know. See all these. Anyways. Aw. Morgan says, literally always so hype when I catch the live. Chad is a mess. He's why women are scared to reject men. And you know what, Morgan? I'm so glad you brought that up as well. Because that's a whole thing, right? Me watching all the true crimes and some men with their fragile egos, and then they get rejected, and all of a sudden they're stalking the woman. They're doing all of the things. And that's not our responsibility, April. Like, if you have a fragile ego, Chad, if you have anger issues, if you have insecurities, then you need to work on those things and not take it out on the first woman, the second woman, third, fourth, fifth, any woman that you decide that you're going to go on a date with just because it doesn't go your way. Quite terrible.
Horrible.
So he's like, yeah, you want to finish? You want to finish? All like aggro. And they go and sit down, right? And so she's going to try to talk to him. In the meantime, he's like, she doesn't understand what I've been through. And, you know, she is just trying to talk at me. And as she's talking and trying to like explain herself, he's laughing in her face, April. And I was like, that is so disrespectful.
It's incredibly disrespectful.
And it's also a form of manipulation. And why I say that, it's a form where you're trying to make this woman in her own country try to communicate in her second language to you in your first language, because that's the only language you speak. You're trying to laugh in her face and make her feel insecure about the things that she's saying because you're feeling rejected.
Right. And you can see how it's affecting her, because we've seen her exercise really good English up to this point. And one of the things that makes me feel like this show really is real is look at the change in her ability to express herself in English because of his behavior.
Yep.
She just completely loses what she's trying to say, her syntax, her cadence, everything changed.
Yep. 100%. And that's being frustrated and trying to continue to like want to communicate. Right. But like I said, she's a better person than me because, you know, bump that. I want to say all the cuss words and I'm not going to, but imagine I was saying all the cuss words to Chad because that's how Chad was acting. He was cussing everyone out for no reason. Like, what's your problem, Chad?
And while he's cussing everybody out, Maria, the whole country of Colombia, while he's cussing at everybody, he said some things that I thought were very, very telling. And I think anybody getting into a relationship with him should consider, because I understand he's dating someone from another country again. I'm never coming to Colombia again. So you're willing to date someone from a country that you have no interest in culturally, socially, their family that's there. I would expect that if I'm going to date and marry someone from another country, that is an annual trip for me. If we don't live in that country, that's an annual trip for me to go see your family, etc., and so on. So the fact that he would say that, I think anyone who might date him should really pay attention to.
Chad's a walking red flag, y'all. Okay? He's a walking red flag. First of all, he's acting like a 4-year-old and not a 40-year-old. Okay, with the temper tantrum and the screaming and the jumping up and the excessive drinking, all of that. That was the first red flag. Then when she's like, you know, I want to be friends, right? Which makes sense because, hey, we've been on 2 dates.
Right. So
you should calm down.
She doesn't even have to extend him friendship.
That's it. And she's like, I'm willing to do that. What does he say? And this is another red flag. This is the biggest red flag to me. He says, why? He says, I'm never coming back to Colombia again. So why the F would I give a damn anymore about you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, excuse me. And then it goes on to say, and are you done blowing smoke out your ass?
Mm-hmm.
That's when she started crying. So you guys.
She never had a chance to finish anything that she wanted to say. And she seemed like to me, she was trying to find a soft way to say, let's just keep getting to know each other. But he never let her get there. So
I'm kind of glad though, because had she given him more opportunity, then we may never have seen this side of him. And she would have invested her time and energy into a relationship that this fool's not even showing his true colors. These are his true colors. Can you imagine? He's like, I'm never coming back to Colombia. So like, why would I give a damn about you anymore? So let me get this straight. You last week were like, do you want to be with me? I want to be with you. And I want you to come back to America and be my wife. And in that same breath, you're like, I'm never coming back to Colombia and I don't give a damn about you.
Exactly.
So which one is it? So you were literally the definition of a passport bro. You were literally like, insert beautiful Latina here. I don't want to know anything about her. I don't want her to have any goals or aspirations. All I want her to have is long hair, be beautiful, and cater to my every single need and whim. And if she dare says anything that I don't like, then bump that. And to me, April, that is all red flags.
All red flags. I mean, the fact that I have exes that I don't want to talk to anymore, but I still care about them as people, right? So the fact that you would just immediately dismiss any care or concern for a person that you said that you just cared about is also, I mean, it's a part of what you just said, but it's also a separate thing. I think when you look at how people treat servers, how they treat, you know, when you're out with somebody, this is like another one of those indicators. Like you cut off somebody that quickly that you said that you cared about. Also, you want to talk about they weren't honest with me?
They what?
He says that Maria wasn't honest with him and that his past relationships, they weren't honest with him. I feel like he just never knew them. Look at the way he wouldn't let her finish what she was trying to say. So like, imagine being in a relationship like that where you never get to say what you want. And then one day you say what you want. And he's like, well, you lied to me, sir. You never listened to anything that I said before. You never let me say anything.
And there's nowhere in there that there was a lie. There were no lies being told. The problem with Chad is that what was coming out of her mouth was not suiting the narrative that he wanted. Had she said, yeah, I would love to come to America and yeah, I want to be with you and you're the one after a couple of dates, his whole narrative would have been different. So he's now saying, oh, she's playing games and he doesn't have time for her BS. Well, no, she's never said anything different. She went on the first date with you. She expressed her concerns. You say you work a lot and you like to cut your grass. Right. That's kind of not what she's into. No. The next date, she tells you that she wants to finish school, so she's not interested in coming to America anytime soon, but maybe, but it's too soon for her, so she wants to give some time to get to know each other. So in the meantime, since you guys live half a world away from each other, she's like, let's be friends, but he didn't want to hear that. To him, be friends means that you are rejecting me, and that's all on Chad and his insecurities and his past trauma. And I think he's awful. I think he's awful.
I think he's an awful person. And this is how this plays out for immigration. This is the kind of person who, if you begin a relationship with him, you come to the US on a K visa, for example, every single time you don't do exactly what they want, they're going to call me and say, I want to cancel the visa.
Yeah.
That's exactly how these kind of men act.
Yeah. There's a woman that acts like that on the 90-day franchise, and you all know who she is. And the fact that she actually went to her attorney and be like, I want to cancel his visa, that is not how it works. You think you have power over this man? Once that process starts, you're not the one that's like, hey, let me go in there and pull the visa. I'm not okay, calm down.
So be very careful if you are going to date an American, be very careful for that kind of warning sign.
There you go. So he takes off. He gets into the rideshare with sexy Juan Pablo.
Poor Juan Pablo was subject to this mess.
He just kept saying, yeah. Like, whatever, fool. Yeah, sure. He's cussing on the rideshare home. Maria says that his anger is really not about her, which I'm so glad she realizes is about his past and his trauma. And then he's in the ride share, still cussing, says, go to hell, that she can go to hell. And that, Colombia, y'all stand up, because he's like, you're a bunch of BS people. Listen, go ahead and wrap it up, Chad. Wrap it up. And head back over to America and stay in your Timbuktu town and live that Timbuktu life. Because it's clear to me that you don't want to open your mind and open your horizons. If it doesn't fit into your small, narrow-minded mind, then it doesn't fit. And you just want to throw out all the things. And I don't care whether you've had trauma, everyone's had trauma in their life. How about deal with that trauma, which I'm going to talk about shortly, April. So after he tells everyone to go to hell and that they're a bunch of BS people, it's the next day he's packing. Allegedly, he had a few more days to stay, but he has had enough. He is getting out of there. And Juan, his matchmaker, shows up and confronts him about his behavior. And at first, of course, because he does no wrong, because he's one of those people that thinks that they never do wrong, Juan's like, but what did you do? What did you do? And he's like, well, she said this and she was messing around and Juan cut that off. He's like, well, maybe she just needed more time.
Mm-hmm.
And Juan expressed his disappointment in Chad and realizes that Chad has that trauma and Chad has old patterns that he immediately, you throw in some alcohol and him not getting his way, he immediately reverted back to his old ways. And hence why he has 3 failed engagements, why he, in my opinion, has a chip on his shoulder towards women. And why I think he's going to continue to revert back to the same old and get the same results because he hasn't put in the work to make himself the best version of himself. So Ron's like, do you think you did anything wrong? And do you think your anger was a problem here? And do you feel like you may have been triggered from your past traumas that you have yet to deal with? And that's when he's like, yeah, you're probably right. He mentions his dead dad. He mentions how his previous women have lied to him all the time, and it's been a slap in the face to him. And my note just really says there's a lot of things that he needs to work on as an individual.
A ton. I've never seen another person with this many issues. Even the person you referenced earlier, she's definitely got some issues, but he has got like 8 different identifiable issues that need work.
I mean, but she's got those same issues. I don't know if you saw her recent situation when she was in New York City, all drunk and putting hands on people that she shouldn't be putting hands on.
Oh, dear.
But she's a hot mess and has anger issues too. And she needs to lay off her alcohol 100% and keep her hands to herself. That being said, Juan's like, you know what? You should apologize to Maria. And he wants to do it in a voicemail. He wants to do it in a text message. And Juan's like, no, you should leave a voice message. And I thought it was interesting because they were clearly on WhatsApp. And Chad didn't know how to send a voice memo.
Of course he doesn't.
Wow.
I mean, he didn't even say, let me figure it out. He just, I don't know.
No. I thought that his apology was terrible. He just mumbled, apologize. And, I said some things that I shouldn't have said. Apology was terrible in my opinion. But Juan said that he did a good job. But I think Juan only said he did a good job because he left a voice memo instead of a text. What do you think, April?
I also didn't think it was a good apology, but it was better than what I expected from him. I did not expect for him to take any responsibility. So that was, I'm not saying it was okay, but it was way more than what I thought Juan was going to get out of him, which is why I said earlier, I wish I could have seen more of his conversation with Juan because I feel like it had to be much longer. I don't think he just did a 180 right there and was like, oh, I guess I am wrong a little bit. There had to be more to it. Yeah. And I would love to see how Juan got into that with him.
Yeah, 100%. So he's going back to Pleasant View, Timbuktu, to cut his grass and to keep on going. We find out in the end credits that, hold on, Natalie, Mark, Michelle. We find out that Maria accepted his apology, but they never spoke again.
Good for her.
but he's determined to find a wife. So he continued dating online instead of going to therapy and dealing with his issues and dealing with his trauma and dealing with his angers. He decided that instead he's going to continue his same old pattern. So keep dating, ignore my issues, and just keep dating. So allegedly, you guys, and this was the kicker to me, he met a woman from Germany online and he plans on going there to propose.
So he's learned nothing from this experience. Going through it, he learned nothing, but perhaps watching it, maybe something will happen. Maybe something will snap in him. You don't believe it could possibly happen?
No.
Okay.
He doesn't want to, he would have to put in real work. He would have to want to change, and I don't think he thinks he needs to change, and that's the problem. Maria's official statement says, "Hello, everyone. I'm Maria from Match Me Abroad. I wish him," meaning Chad, "the best, but he needs to work on himself before considering being engaged. Thanks for all the support."
Absolutely. What a wonderful he had wonderful dates. He just never took the time to get to know either one of them.
Because it wasn't about them, April.
Yeah, you're right.
Insert Latina here.
Exactly.
All right, moving on to Harold and Michaela.
Oh boy.
Overall thoughts.
Boy. Oh wait, I have a real question about Chad. No, I don't anymore. We talked about it.
What was it?
I was going to ask you, what do you think that he was saying that Maria lied about?
Oh,
but we kind of talked about it.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Okay, Harold.
Okay, Harold. Overall thoughts of Harold and Michaela.
Why, Harold?
I think Michaela did a really great job of slowing him down. What was hard for me to watch is him thinking that him being persistent was actually indeed that, when he was actually crossing boundaries. She put some boundaries down and said, "This is what I'm comfortable with. This is what I want to do." And he's like, "No, I'm going to just keep doing what I want to do. I want to do this, and this is how I feel, and I want to make sure you're my wife and girlfriend, anything. I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going."
He was like, he said he's got like some boxes that he needs to tick off, and he's ticking them off. And so he's going to keep ticking them off. But when he said she gave me mixed signals because she kissed me on the first date, I was like, what, Harold? How's that a mixed signal when you asked for a kiss?
That part. So Harold's heartbroken, doesn't understand why Michaela doesn't want to be his girlfriend, but he's not giving up, y'all. And one of the things I thought was bad editing is he says in this little segment that he's leaving today, but he's going to meet Michaela at her apartment first, because it's going to be the last chance he can be with her in her city before he heads back home, right? So he was hoping, he said, that he would be coming over to her house as a boyfriend and not just as Harold. Now, you guys, the reason why Harold wanted to come over, right, which is just like how he showed up after not hearing from her. He took the train to her city, called until he got a hold of her, is because this fool wanted this to be a sex trip too. Sorry, not sorry. So he wanted to come over, quote, as the boyfriend and have sex. That really is what he said.
I mean, he basically was like, I was hoping to spend the night and we would be intimate. I'm like, Harold, Jesus. So much.
But so he feels bad because he feels like, quote, he's starting from step one. Well, Harold, again, how many dates did you go on? You went from 0 to 1,000 prenups before you even met the person. Insert woman here, and even insert blonde here. Because if the blonde from the paddle boating paid any attention to you, you would have said you loved her.
Absolutely.
So let's not act like you're brand new right now. So he gets to her house. She welcomes him. I'm petty. So I laughed when he tripped on his way in with his suitcase.
Oh, and why does he have a suitcase?
Well, because he stayed at the hotel, right?
Just why didn't he leave it at the hotel?
Because he's leaving immediately to the train. So he still thinks he can turn it around, his words. And he really wants to talk to Michaela for the umpteenth time about their future, issues about their future. He wants to talk to her about all the things that he's been talking to her from the jump, y'all. And she keeps saying, it's too fast. I'm not ready. I need to take my time. I've only gone an X number of dates with you. I've only known you for a week. Like, what more can I tell you? But no, here we are. So he goes into this whole, like, well, who are we? Where are we going to be? What are we going to do? Are you going to be my woman? She's like, listen, Harold, listen. It's only been a week. And even though this seems like a hard decision, I need time. It's only been a week and you live far away. Yes, I like you, but it's a hard decision because you know what? I love my city and I love my family, which was the realest of the real things to say, right? Because if she commits to him, then he's thinking that she's committing to him, to moving to America, to establishing herself over there and starting her life over there with him all over. And she's saying, I don't know if I can do that because I love my city and I love my family. But Harold's not hearing any of that stuff because guess what? Just like Chad, it's what he wants and what he's ready for. And if you guys heard him, he said, I've been preparing for this for years now, a couple of years now. And so I need Michaela to catch up to where I am. And I'm like, so again, you've been preparing for love and then just insert any female there?
Basically, that's what he's been doing. And when he says that, like, oh, I need for her to catch up, she's not saying she needs more time for what he's thinking. She wants to just like date slowly and get to know each other. Mm-hmm. So he's not even understanding when she says that.
Choosing not to understand.
He's choosing not to understand. And because he's autistic, we also have to say he's choosing not to ask more questions and get more information. He's just going with the data set that he has in his own head without saying, oh, wait a minute, I might be perceiving this wrong. I might not be listening. Let me ask some more questions about what she wants and how she feels and not just keep imposing what I want.
That part. So he goes on to say, like April said earlier, that he felt that because they kissed on the first date that they would be automatically boyfriend and girlfriend, which makes no sense to me. And I'm going to chalk that up to his inexperience.
I'm going to try that on my next date, see how it goes.
We kissed. We together now.
That was a binding contract, in case you didn't know.
Yeah. We go together now.
Right. So I packed a bag and I will be coming to meet your parents.
Right. So go ahead and pin me their address and I'll be there shortly.
Just start sharing your location with me.
That part.
Permanently. That's who we are now. Because we kissed.
So even though she said all this stuff too soon, loves her city, loves her family, Harold decides that he's still going to pull out the ring, y'all. So he pulls out the ring. And he said, I did buy this too. And her face was like, what in the what? And he shows her the ring and she's like, it's beautiful. It's nice. I can't marry you. I can't be your wife. That was immediately what she said. Immediately. I can't be your wife. So if you were thinking that this was going to be a thing, you think you're backdooring a proposal after I already said that, no, I can't even be your girlfriend. Just because you showed me something shiny is not going to change my mind, Harold.
Yeah. So I like the way you phrase that, backdooring the proposal. It's basically what he's doing. He's like, it's like when people say, well, I love you. So whenever you're comfortable, you can also tell me that you love me. It's like, why would you do that?
Yeah, it's a form of manipulation. It's a form of manipulation. It's like if I said no the first time, just because you bring something shiny or gifts doesn't mean I'm going to change my mind. I mean, I'll take the gift, but my mind is going to still be the same. So she's like, yes, no, sorry, I can't be your wife. And then he flips it into, no, I just wanted you to have something physical of me, about me while I'm gone so that you can think about me when I'm not physically here. And she says, thank you so much. She puts the ring on. And then, because he couldn't leave it at that, you guys, because he really didn't mean anything that he was saying, to be honest. Right? So he's saying, oh, I just did this because, it was burning a hole in my pocket. And I just want you to remember me. No, now it's a promise ring. A promise ring to be boyfriend and girlfriend, a promise ring to promise to get married. No one knows. They didn't discuss it. He just threw that out there because at the end of the day, he wanted what he wanted. So now she's wearing the ring, and then he wants to say it's a promise ring and have a conversation with Katerina, talking about when she comes visit. Hopefully, she can move it from one ring to the next. Have you not listened to Michaela?
He didn't. He said, I'm going to trick her like Bilbo Baggins got tricked by the Ring of Mordor.
He's like,
as soon as she slipped it on her finger, that one fairy that thought that she could handle the power of the ring, and she slips it on and turns it.
This fool right here. Let me just get the ring on her finger. And then I'll be like, well, you took the ring, so that was a promise ring. So you promised to be my girlfriend. And now I'm like, hey,
mixed signals.
Let's get married. So just go ahead and flip that over. And then he's going to turn around and be like, Chad, she lied to me. She said she'd be my girlfriend. No, Harold. None of that happened.
Okay. Yeah. I would not be surprised if he at some point asked for that ring back. Hi, Poland.
Oh, everyone say hi to Vanny. Vanny saying hello from Poland.
Hello.
Yeah. So, he goes on to say that he loves her. He can't wait for her to come visit. She talks about like maybe in 3 months, she'll take some vacation days and come visit him in America. And this is where, you guys, I almost choked. When I tell you something, I'm gonna lay it out for you. And normally I don't lay out stuff like this, but it serves me right because I was not ready, and I should always be ready. I was lying on my couch, having a drink, okay, about to swallow the drink when I say I choked to the max. Because Michaela said, okay, well, basically, text me when you arrive home safe. You got the ring on, y'all. She's like, peace out. Text when you get back over in America.
But this ring has no power over me.
And then Harold's like, wait, what? I thought we would be talking a little bit more than that. I thought we'd be FaceTiming and talking a lot. And she's like, yeah, no, just text me when you land safe. I spit out my drink, you guys, all over me. It was a mess. And I deserved it.
Yeah, that was really funny. He's like, well, I think that step one will be us just working on our communication. Like, you still are not listening.
She's like, deuces. And so he feels like it's the beginning of something bigger. Given time, he feels that she's going to come around. So again, as I keep telling you guys, like, he's hearing what he wants to hear and creating the narrative that he can be comfortable with. And she blows him a kiss as he gets into the ride chair. He grabs it like you see on TV, which I just thought was so corny, but whatever.
I do it with my nieces and nephews. That's the appropriate age for that.
So it's the next day, and which is so weird because, again, I don't know if it was the editing, but like, were you leaving back to Prague? Is that what you were saying? Or were you leaving that day? Because it made it seem like you and your suitcase were going back to America. That's what I thought. But he was still there the next day. So he met up with Katerina, tells her all about how it went. Because, the last time she saw him, he was about to propose against her wisdom. And he told her, he's like, yeah, she's not ready. She didn't even want to be my girlfriend, but I did give her the ring and yada, yada, yada. And Katerina's like, well, yeah, it takes time to develop deep feelings. And Harold liked to tap himself on the back and said, listen, y'all, this is Harold speaking, said he was really reading her and he decided to back off. No, Harold, she slowed you down. And she was not putting up with all the things you were laying out. You were harassing her in the rideshare. You're harassing her at the restaurant. You're harassing her at her apartment. All about be my girlfriend, be my wife, be my girlfriend, be my wife. What is this? What is this relationship? What are we going to do? Ah! And she just held her ground. And she's like, no, Harold, I'm not ready, Harold. It's too early, Harold. Shh. Remember when they were doing yoga? Quiet, Harold. Ridiculous.
That's still the best thing.
So he tells Katerina that he loves Michaela. He has 4 pillars that he always looks for in a relationship: trust, love, sci-fi, and attraction. And she fits the bill completely. He has a lot of love to give her. And he now realizes from this trip that he deserves love, which I think is good. Then he says, when asked by the producer, are you actually really happy? He's like, yeah, well, I'm happy, sad, right? He's like, I didn't leave here with a wife or a girlfriend, but I left with a romantic connection. And I was like, okay. Okay.
I think the people going on the show in the future should have that same expectation, like hopefully leave with a romantic connection, not expecting to leave with a girlfriend, boyfriend, or wife.
That part. Harold, you tried to get a prenup for someone that you had not even met yet. So right there, I already knew you set your expectations to something that was not realistic. So.
Wasted that attorney's time.
The attorney was laughing, as I recall. So Harold and Michaela continue to get to know each other. He is still complaining that they don't talk often enough. He wants to talk more often. And he's hoping that she still comes to visit him in New Mexico. So that's where they left it. Moving on. Michelle and
Pavel. Very excited for them. I, hope that he comes to visit and they continue seeing each other. I think she said she was open to moving there as well. So, hopefully they get some good back and forth in and just, I like them together.
I like them together, and I liked her and how she represented herself. So she's leaving Prague. Pavel's date that she had with him in High Tides was the best one yet. But, she only had one other date. So I felt her time went by quickly. But then we also met her halfway through the season. Right? So I think they could have spent some more time on her, in my personal opinion. So, but she met Pavel. They had that wonderful first date. And she loves a lot of things about him. And a lot of things that she's looking for. He checks off those boxes. Open-minded. A lot going on for him. Has a full life. He has hobbies. Has good friends and good family. And so those are the things that she says that are important to her. And therefore, she wants to get to know him a little bit better. And he wants to get to know her a little bit better too. So she feels a little sad that she made this connection and now she's leaving. And it really sucks that they really didn't have enough time together. They had one date. But if this was Harold, Harold would be like, one day, let's go. Let's get married. You and I go together.
Harold would have been like, she offered to take me to the airport, so that means she's ready to have my babies.
Diana has an interesting question. Diana said, should the matchmakers vet the women to be sure that they are willing to leave their countries to be with men? The men are going to countries, bring the women to America. The men think it's a golden ticket. Do you want to address that one, or do you want me to?
I think that they should not specifically look for people who just want to move to America, because some of the people on this show are willing to move to the other country. We've had Stanika say she's willing to move to Morocco. Michelle's willing to move to Prague. But I think that for some of the people, they have to balance out the qualities that are going to make them a good companion to the person versus other qualities. Like Michaela was a better match for Harold on personality matters. So that probably outranked her willingness, or how, strong her willingness was to move out of her country. Also, whether or not you want to move from your country is going to vary based on so many different factors. It could change overnight. I could be totally willing to move from the US and then somebody in my family gets sick and that change immediately.
And I too also think, Diana, that I think that the matchmakers probably do vet them, but what these matchees are saying, specifically like Chad and Harold, is that they want these people to move immediately. And maybe they're saying, I'm open to moving if I feel like I've invested enough time and I fell in love with this person, and yeah, I can take it to the next step. But what you're not about to do is go on 2 dates with me and tell me, hey, yeah, make that decision, like I'm ready to move tomorrow. And I think that that's the difference.
Yeah, exactly. That's a thing too. And if you're talking about from an immigration perspective, you want to date for a while. You want to establish a strong relationship so that you have a better chance of your application being granted. You don't want to just meet. I mean, like, you can get your application granted after meeting one time, but it's not the strongest application.
Yeah. Okay, so she has a connection with Pavel, and he's driving her to the airport, and they basically they really enjoyed each other. He enjoyed the date with Michelle. He told Katerina that he wants to get to know her more, and Michelle wants to get to know him as well. And Katerina gave herself a little tap on the shoulder because she's like, I knew these two would get along. And I was like, I'm picking up what Katerina's putting down, because she's like bang on with her dating matches. And, some of us may not have been on board immediately, but came round.
Some of the things that Katerina said in the beginning were a little worrisome. I did come around, but her whole, like, are you ready to surrender to a man? Maybe it wasn't English.
But it's interesting that Michelle brought that up at the end of her episode, right? She said that Katerina really helped her open up and be vulnerable and be flexible. And I think that the reason why she was saying that about surrendering, wasn't really like surrender. No, that's not the saying. That's serenity now. Surrender to your partner. It was more, are you willing to be vulnerable?
Yes, I do interpret it that way now. But us being introduced to her as a strong feminist and then hearing, are you ready to surrender to a man, that didn't seem to go. But notice the date that Katerina participated in and the date that Juan participated in, they went well. So maybe we need more matchmakers to be in the date.
Oh, yeah. Agreed. That's a really good observation. I agreed. I never even thought of it that way. So driving to the airport, she thanks him for a great date. They talk about Chianti. He's like, I've been to the Chianti region. I was like, woo, sign me up. Let's go. And Michelle felt the same way. She's like, oh, will we be honeymooning there?
Which was a nice, light joke. Harold would have been like, so when do we need to buy our tickets for the honeymoon in Tuscany?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved everything about it. So they both promised to stay in touch. and plan some trips, go on some hiking, and see each other when they can see each other. And if all else goes well, then they can see if they can be a couple, which I thought was a very realistic pace.
Yes.
And then Michelle talked about just everything that we just talked about, how she is excited to see where the relationship goes. She learned from Katerina that to surrender herself to love, to be open, to be vulnerable, and to be flexible. And Katerina really helped her to get back into the dating scene after her dad passed, as well as Katerina challenged her and she really needed it. So she really felt that Katerina was the right matchmaker for her.
Yeah.
Now, her update is Michelle and Pavel continue to talk. She did give an update because an article came out about the two of them, y'all. Can I just say this is actually I won't. Actually, I will. I'm sorry, you guys, but can you see this? Can you see that, you guys?
Yes.
That is not an LV bag.
It's not, but it's cute. It's cute.
No, it's not, April. I love that you are so kind, because I'm going to tell you that this person here is not trying to make it seem like, oh, that's just a cute bag. Actually, let me not get sidetracked. I was about to show you guys something.
Who is it being a poser?
I am not even going to comment. You know who it is. International superstar.
He's back from his concerts in London. His concerts turn meet and greet. Okay, back to Match Me Abroad. You know what? I would love to hear her talk about a little bit more. Michelle, she said she does think that it is the right thing for her to be matched with a European as opposed to an American man. And I think I know where she's going with this, but I would love for them to have asked the follow-up question. Why? Yes. Mm-hmm. Why? What is the difference from her perspective?
So she posted... Can you guys see that?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so she posted, In Touch did an article. It said, sparks flew between Match Me Abroad stars Michelle and Pavel. Are they still together? And this is what her caption said. She says, I don't know, In Touch, ... Okay, obviously I do know, but I'm waiting to see what y'all think before I do my tell-all. What do you figure has happened since Match Me Abroad? Have I been back to Prague, to a different continent entirely? Was Pavel there? And is a first meeting on international TV, no less, really enough to build a life on? Or just the start of a potentially great story? I'll be letting you all know soon. XO Michelle.
So I think that they probably take a trip together to Italy.
I absolutely second that motion. April, the kind Canadian.
That's who we are. We wake up in the morning, we put our boots on, we eat our maple syrup, and we go outside and, talk to the mises, whatever they're called. We wave to Niagara Falls, and and then we say, to the Queen.
The Queen's dead. To the king.
So
now.
what do you do now when you drink your tea?
It's to the king now.
To the king? Oh, okay. Seriously? Okay. Like seriously though?
Like seriously, if you're gonna be that person, then yeah.
It just doesn't have the same ring.
Even the money's changing. It has the king on the monies now. Well, not yet, but they're changing it. Okay, so we did Michelle. Moving on to Stanika.
Yes, Stanika.
Stanika, I feel from the jump, all 13 episodes just represented herself well. She came in, had done the work, and knew exactly what she wanted. And I just love the pace that she went. I love the match that she made. All of it. So she's home. She's been home from Morocco for 3 days. And her and Nordine have been FaceTiming every single day. And she misses him. She's with her little dog, Diamond. And she's like ready to go back to Morocco. She already misses him, and she sees herself being with him. And he says, when are you coming back? He says. And she's like, well, when are you coming here? Hey, Busola. Hey, girl. Hey. And this is where I literally said April in my notes. Hey, girl. Hey. Okay, so he said, these are the things that I would like you to discuss, please. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So he said he's more than willing to come from Morocco to Mississippi to see Stanika, but he needs a physical invite. She said that he also has to do an interview as well as something about a bank account for him to just visit the United States.
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. So a lot of Americans don't realize this, but there are a lot of countries that require you to apply for a visa before coming to the U.S. So, for example, as a comparison, Michelle is going to invite Pavel to come to the U.S. He does ESTA. It's a type of visa, but it's like $21. You apply for it online, and you don't need that many days to apply for it in advance of your travel. But if you're from an African country, a Middle Eastern country, several Latin American countries, you have to apply maybe a year or 2 years in advance for a visa to come to the U.S. It's about $200. And you have
2 years, even if you just wanted to go on a little bit of a holiday?
Yep. The wait times for interviews can be very long in some countries. So you have to, generally people apply before they even have a plan of where they want to go in the US because you have to apply so early. You have to prove that you're going to return to your home country after you visit the US. So you have to prove that you have ties to your country that you're not willing to abandon, such as a permanent job, family members, that you have a high level of education. And in his case, what he's asking for, like 1, 2.
That's what I said. Yeah. How do you know where you're gonna be traveling in 2 years? That's crazy. Like if I wanted to go to Morocco right now, if I was in Morocco, you're saying, and I say, oh, I want to go to California Adventureland, I would have to plan that 2 years in advance?
Yes.
Damn.
Yeah. And you have to show several months of the amount of money in your bank account because they want to make sure that you just didn't borrow the money from somebody to have it for 1 month. They want to see like all your transactions going through that account to prove that you have that much money. I used to moonlight in these non-immigrant Facebook groups because I was trying to understand their perspective. And I learned that a lot of people just don't understand how difficult it is to get a visa to come to the US. And so that's why some people choose to come without a proper visa. If you are someone who wasn't afforded the opportunity to have a certain level of education, there's almost zero chance you're going to get a visa to the US.
That's crazy.
So,
and what about
it's difficult.
What about the physical invite? How come that plays a part in it?
So the physical invite, I'm going to disagree with Nordine a little bit. So some people want an invitation from a particular person to show what they're going to do while they're in the US. I don't think that's the strongest evidence that you're going to return to your home country. The strongest evidence that you're going to return to your home country is if you're coming to the US because you're coming for a conference, you're coming for some kind of short educational program, or you have a specific interest, like you studied history in your home country, specializing in the Civil War in the US, and you want to come visit all the monuments. Saying that you want to come because you want to visit your future wife, as he phrased it, is probably not going to be looked on favorably by the consular officer. They'll think, okay, you're just going to come to the US and stay.
Got it. So before we move on, there was something else because someone else sent this to me, the Canadian. Are these immigration rules for all countries outside of the US?
Most of the European countries are allowed to do ESTA, which is a very easy type of visa process. But most of the African countries, Middle Eastern countries, and a lot of Latin American countries are required to do a visa. There's a passport index. If you Google passport index, you can put in what country you're from, and you can compare the strength of your passport to other countries.
Yeah. Canada has a really good one. Did you know that, April?
Yes, Canada has a better one than the US. Yes.
Can you read that?
Yes. People are freaking out about this.
Okay, so I want to talk about it a little bit. So US citizens will need to pay for a visa to travel to Europe starting in 2024. It says in 2024, US passport holders planning to travel to Europe will need to apply for authorization through the European Travel Information before their visit. This electronic travel authorization is linked to the traveler's passport and grants short-term entry for up to 90 days within any 180-day period to 30 of the European countries. The application process costs $7.79. And it's recommended to apply well, like April said, well in advance of the trip to avoid any last-minute complications. Travelers should ensure that they use the same travel documents linked to their, I don't know what this is, ETIAS?
Yeah.
During their journey to avoid any issues at the border. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know about other countries, but the US, your passport number changes when you renew your passport.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So what they're saying is, this happened to me actually. I have a horror story about this. When I applied for my work visa in Mexico, I applied for it and then like a month went by and I realized my passport was going to expire before my year was over to work there. So I went and got a new one and I just didn't know that passport numbers change. So when I went to the Mexican embassy to go pick up my work permit, they wouldn't give it to me because my passport number wasn't the same.
So for this travel visa for Europe for Americans, what do you think that turnaround time is going to look like?
I don't know because it's new, but I'm not surprised. They're just doing to us what we've been doing to them.
So you guys, if you're planning any trips next year and you are American, you're going to want to look into that because it sounds to me like, I don't know if you've ever dealt with anything immigration, you guys, but it does not happen overnight.
No, it doesn't. And even I find Americans who get incredulous when you land somewhere and they're like, oh, you have to pay $18 for a visa or you have to pay $12. When I went to Indonesia, it was like $9 and people were incredulous. And I'm like, do you understand what we do to other people? Do you?
Yep. That part. So Stanika and Nordine continue to chit chat and she's willing. So he wants to see her. So how are we going to do this? Is he going to come there? Is that going to take too long? She's willing to go back there. And he is more than happy to have her back because he wants to feel her physically. He wants to touch her, wants to kiss her, wants to be with her. And he basically says actions speak louder than words. So let's just stop talking and have more action. And Stink is all about it. She's like, you know what? I can see myself with Nordine long term. I can see a life with him. I could even see children with him. And she could also see herself moving to Morocco. And so she's looking forward to the future, which I think is a great thing, you guys, because it's not only about, hey, let's go to America. It's like, we can live anywhere if we can make it work out for each other. And the update on Sanika. They talk every day, and she's introduced Nordine to her family over video calls. So they are going strong, y'all. And I am happy about it. She deserves all that. She deserves all that.
If he wants to do some stanky hanky, what did that guy call it?
What? Hanky panky?
Hanky panky, is that what he said? If he wants to do hanky panky, they might want to meet somewhere outside of Morocco. Right? Don't get in trouble now, Stanika. Yes, Pedro. He was the one who called it
hanky panky.
Hanky panky.
Pedro. Family Chantel's coming back, y'all. That's a little bit of tea you probably didn't know.
Is she going to be dating Drake on the show?
That is all I'm going to tell y'all. You want more news and gossip? Go ahead and head over to our Patreon. Thank you. You're not all doing everything for free. So that's it, you guys. It was a great season. I hope that they do season 2 of this and stick again to the format, stick to like real people. Oh, Seychelles. I would love to go there.
Incredibly romantic.
Oh, so
Or
beautiful.
so I'm told.
Yeah, so I hope that they have a second season. In the meantime, April and I will continue our journey on Tuesdays. We are going to start covering 90 Day Fiancé UK from the beginning. So next week we will be covering episode 1.
Come back.
And as per usual, you'll get the perspective of the immigration attorney and the perspective of 2 Canadians.
We'll be learning together about the
isn't this
UK.
funny? As we said that, Vanny said, you should cover 90 Day UK.
Ah, I love you, chicken. That's not the same way he sings it. I love you, chicken. Chicken. I don't know. I'll get it right by next week.
I'll get it right and I'll bring my microphone out.
Yes.
Excellent. You guys, thank you so much for being with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye. Have a good one. Toodaloo.